There's no space for naming harm, being accountable, and actually believing that we're worthy of transformation and recovery and restoration.
And I feel, because this is something that I feel like the reason why that is so hard is because it's a both, and it's something that is paradoxical. Like
and if it's not a paradox, I don't want it.
Because it's like you have to have either or,
Mm-hmm.
and that is part of the violence of our culture. We're talking about norms of society, gender, sexuality, whatever, that get imposed onto us. Those are the either or, the boxes that we've sorted ourselves into. And same with our minds and our bodies and our hearts. We've sorted them into boxes where we either are bad or we're good. We're either, we did something bad, so being accountable means we're bad.
Right.
Because if I take accountability, I'm a bad person.
I'm bad now.
And that I've actually seen, like, there's someone who did like a poll of their community saying, like, what's preventing you from apologizing to your close loved ones? What's the number one thing? And this is actually, their name's Erotics of Liberation. And they said one of the top answers was, because I would have to own that, like, I did the thing. You know, it's like, because then it makes me feel bad. Like, it makes it feel like just by naming it, it makes it so I can't come back. You know, I can't come back to feeling like I'm a good person.
I can't come back. And this is where, okay, I know we're only 5 minutes in. This is where I'm going to call on Christ. Because as a Jewish, Buddhist, pagan, I love the Christ story because it's about coming back. And for me, my trans liberation queer lens on Jesus is like, you're allowed to come back. Like, you can die and be reborn. You're allowed to transform. And I think that piece of that story has been so lost in the sort of Christian nationalist nonsense that makes the clickbait stuff. But that story of, like, persistent worthiness is so fundamental to me and so beautiful to me, and so it really calls me. And it really calls me to lead with that. And especially in this moment, read Trump and ICE and all this unspeakable demonic evil. It's like, how do I, because I just don't think, I see a lot of people posting, if you voted for this, don't ever talk to me again. And I think that anger is righteous, and I think that anger makes sense, and I think we need anger. And I don't see how we get out of this if we're not able to. I mean, there are people who voted for Trump who regret it. I know that. And they don't feel safe coming to us and saying, hey, I fucked up. And it's not that we need to prioritize, per se, their safety, and this relates to the conversation we were having about whiteness and men. But it is like, I believe that the way we're going to get out of this is we do need the big tent, not to use the Democratic Party's language. And this is not me cheering on the Democratic Party, but we need as many people as possible to come together. And that's going to include people who voted for Trump and who regret it.
Right.
I think.
Well, and I guess to bring it back to that conversation about whiteness. Because what we're talking about is to change your mind about something or to have made a mistake. There's a shame that you carry in doing the wrong. When it is, there are things that we do that are wrong by people, but there's no thing or person that's completely wrong, Like, an action could be right or wrong in the different context, with a different consciousness, a different community. there are things that are the right thing to do in our country that are not the right thing to do in another country. Like, there's so many different ways that, like, we can't judge or be the final judge of someone's, like, rightness or wrongness. But if someone sees that their impact is harmful and want to, like, take account for the wrong of how they've caused wrong to others, you know, it's like, that's a different thing, you know, like, where you don't need to judge someone. Judgment is like the full, like, determination, like, through to the core, like, that this is bad. But what if instead it's like, I just see that that was where you were when you were doing that. It's not okay. But we all move on into something better when we're able to allow for the space for that growth,
Right.
to move out of it, because otherwise we're stuck.
Right.
So, like, the both and is like holding, no human being could ever be wrong fundamentally, but we can do wrong by each other. And when we own our wrong, then we can make it right. But to own it means we have to hold our shame for doing something that we're not proud of. And I'm very much moving through, like, how to do this in my own life, especially with my closest relationships, because that's when it gets kicked up the most, right? When you're in conflict with someone and you're like, where am I not getting this right in terms of, like, not meeting the person or saying the apology I need to say or finding the place where we need to resolve? It's messy stuff.
It's messy.
Yeah.
And we just are, I have so much fear of the messiness.
Yeah.
I want to keep it together. I want to keep it cute. I want to keep it tight. I want to keep it legible. I want to make sense. And it's dishonest. And the more honest I am, I find the more messy I become. Both in terms of my own experience and how I'm relating to people around me.
Yeah.
And who am I without shame?
Oh.
Felt stuck and so I blame everyone I know for my pain. Guess that's how we were taught. This culture's got us caught in the same shit, same fight, blocked from the same light. There's one crime, division, where vision goes to die. I listened to some podcast and it was one of those things where people were, like, showing the word and it's like division, die, vision.
Oh.
And I loved that, and then I wrote that line about it.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was wondering where that line came from, because it's really powerful.
And just like the actual, like, spelling of the word division.
Yes.
Like, it's like die vision. I mean,
Right.
I don't know if etymologically it's actually that, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a really cool. It feels so true.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as soon as we're dividing each other, dividing myself from anybody or anything, that's where the vision of unity and peace that we've never known kind of gets lost.
Yeah, and it's that both and too. It's like being able to hold that we're not separate in that. Yeah, again, like, at a fundamental level, none of us could be other, because we are so interconnected on every level.
Sometimes I've done a meditation where I just, like, really not just send love to, but embody, the experience of whoever it is I'm thinking of. I'll try to do, like, okay, what does it mean for me to be an IDF soldier right now? What does it mean to put myself in that person's heart? What does it mean to put myself in the heart of a Palestinian kid who just got killed by that IDF soldier? how do I see myself in both of those beings? And it's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fucking sad to lean into that truth that I am, in a sense, both of those beings. I am the victim, and I am very much the perpetrator. And I just want my life and my work and my art to be a diary, a recording, a field notes of just like trying to be honest. You know, Alok said to me once, actually, and I love this. They said they want their tombstone to say, at least they were honest.
That's, you know, sometimes you don't realize how profound that is. Just to be honest.
Just to be honest is so radical.
It is.
It's so radical. And it's like, again, it's like I'm going to try to use I statements. I am so contained by identity politics, saying the right thing, being palatable, not being too much, not being too little, taking up the right amount of space in the right context for the right people, for the right internet, for the right audience. And it's like, all of that is so dishonest.
But it's honest that you're saying it.
It is honest that I'm saying it.
I mean, and I feel like just even you saying it right now, it feels so connecting because we all experience that every day. And maybe it's not like the goal to be 100% authentic all the time.
Yeah.
Because in some senses, it's not always practical.
Yeah.
You know, literally walking down the street. Like, I would probably prefer some days to just like skip around, dance, and like make my, but it's just
or be
not.
Naked.
Yeah, do whatever I feel like doing. And there's some days where I'm like, well, I could do that, but it would also like disrupt other people, impact other people, their pathway. And like, so there's some things that we do conform to for each other that are beneficial for each other, you know, like there's balance in a sense to like some things I do because I don't want to do, but I do because I want to be in community in a way that supports other people. But then it can tip the other way where I take on too much of what other people need or want or what society expects. And I'm not myself anymore. I'm not honest anymore. And that it's never like you're purely one or the other, but we're all like in this conversation that's constantly happening.
Yeah.
And there's never a such thing as like, oh, I've fully become myself and like I'm not impacted by the world anymore. I'm not being conditioned by my environment anymore. You know?
It's like even the word authenticity feels less and less true to me. Because it's like, to be authentic, it's like my authenticity changes every microsecond.
Yeah, like you don't even know what's coming out of your mouth next.
If I'm being honest and I'm in my body and I'm in the present and I'm out of the way of love, of God, of the universe, of whatever it is that I'm serving in that moment, like, I don't know. My gender changes every second. My feelings change every second. I'm a different bitch all day long.
All day long.
All day long. And I feel like allowing that fluidity. And like, look at the natural world. Like, we could come on this walk every day, and each day it's going to be a different walk, because we're part of this earth, and we change and we evolve, and it's different, and it's gritty, and it's sticky sometimes, and harsh the other times, and soft the other time. And yeah, I just rejoice in the transformation.
Yeah. We were talking earlier that one thing that reminds me of this all the time is emotions, like, and just how I feel. And I feel deeply. I sense things and like move through them pretty quickly. So it's just like when I feel something, it's here and it's in my body and I'm feeling it and I'm going all the way through it. And day to day, I never know like what emotions coming up, right? And some of it's historical stuff that hasn't been processed yet, that looks like, hey, today's the day we're gonna be feeling this, and I'm like, oh shit, okay. And some days there isn't room or time for that, right? And or some days it's just like feeling a joy and ecstasy that I didn't plan for, and it just comes through.
I love that.
Right? And that is amazing, just the weather of our emotional body.
The weather of our emotional body,
yeah, sometimes it's storming. Sometimes it's hailing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it feels like a peaceful day, you know, but that doesn't mean the next hour will feel that way. And sometimes I guess I do feel in our society, emotions have been made to be irrational, not practical, not useful. So we're not taught how to tune into them, how to feel them, and that it's okay. And most of us probably feel like if we felt all of our emotions, we would just not be okay all the time. Like that it's too much. That to feel everything we have to feel would just be like, no, that's just, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And it not all the time, right? Like if we were to always be deep stuck in feelings, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But to just be attuned to what like we're feeling, for me, like I feel like just knowing what the weather is that day it speaks exactly to what you're saying. Just like there's so much variation that has nothing to do with me trying to feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, or trying to control it. It's just like how life moves through that day, the things I didn't expect to happening, the ways in which like maybe if I slept enough or didn't sleep enough the night before, or like had a bite to eat, didn't have a bite to eat, and I'm hangry.
That's a big one for me.
Yeah. And like all these things can change so quickly. And maybe humble, I think maybe is what I was looking for. Humble us into realizing that in some ways we're just this vessel of emotions. Or many other things, but on one sense, we're that, and we really don't have a lot of control over that.
Right, and then that's where like the practices help us kind of be the weather person rather than the weather itself.
Yeah, just be aware of the weather.
And watch it from that place of peace that does, I believe, live within us. In sort of that memory that I was talking about of like safety in the burrow. Like I do think that true peace is in us, and it's again, it's a paradox because it's at once something we've never known before, and it's also something that we simply need to remember.
Yeah,
I need to remember. There's this story that I might have shared with you when we met last year, but I'll share it again because I love it and it feels relevant to everything. Maybe you've heard it, but there's like 3 levels in this framework, and the story, I've heard the story a number of ways, but one story is when the Buddha died, his youngest students are sobbing, they're devastated, they're crying, their teacher died, they're beside themselves, you know? And then the next, the more advanced level 2 students, they're in meditation, they're at peace, they accept that the universe is as it must be, and their teacher had to die, and it is what it is. And the most advanced students are crying because their teacher died. And it's like they don't have that aversion to their sadness. And they also understand that things are as they had to be. But it's like I found that too. It's like you have to kind of separate from the thing and then come back to it. And oftentimes when you come back on the outside, it looks the same. They're both crying. But on the inside, there's this whole other transformation.
Yeah.
Like for me with my pronouns, like I had, people level 1 would be people calling me he, him. Level 2, now my pronouns are they, them. And I was like very militant about it for a long time, especially with cis men. Don't you call me he, him. Don't call me bro. How dare you? I'm non-binary, and it's like, it was such an opportunity for me to be a victim, play that role of a victim. And also, I was moving through my process
You were
of coming.
protecting an
Yeah.
identity that you were newly in.
Yes.
I think of that as like in anything we start to do, we need to kind of protect
Yes.
the new growth. It's like a
Yes.
flower blooming. Usually, if there's creatures around, you need to put a little fence around it or
Right.
something to, and that's emotionally sometimes we do that with people. We're kind of spiky when we're
Right.
starting something new and we're like, don't get away from my shit.
Yeah.
Because it's my shit that's just starting to bloom.
And even those monks, the level 2 monks who are at peace, they have to be at that peace stage before they can get to the place where they're going to cry for their teacher. And so now someone calls me he, him, and it's like, okay, whatever. You know, that's your perception of me, and I'm not invested in your perception of me because I know who I am. However, when this is the part I've been digging too, that level 3 for me becomes a new level 1 because now I'm letting people just call me he, him, and they're trampling me and disrespecting me.
Yeah. And that's where another identity of being like, I'm the one that's cool with things.
Is also exactly.
And like, oh shit.
Yep.
Because then it always comes around again. Like
Yep.
There's no time or place where we're rid of our humanity of taking on another ego.
Yep.
And that's where like I do find like I found these hilarious points in myself too. Yeah, where I'm just like, oh, I thought like I moved on.
I thought I did that one.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, damn,
Yeah.
that's embarrassing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a new version.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's funny because then you have to kind of be out of that phase to see what happened.
And right, and each phase feels so integral. Like there's no skipping. There's no skipping in the evolution, and things have to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And this now I'm going to bring it a little bit into the political world.
Yes.
It's like I feel so much more called to evolution than revolution.
Mm.
And that feels new for me because I think when I was younger, I was very much like, burn it all down. It's like, if we burn it all down, on the very literal sense, who's taking care of our elders?
Where's the care in
Where's
that?
the care? Who's taking care of the people in a wheelchair that can't run from the fire?
Mm-hmm.
And I know.
I can just feel your heart in that moment. I just want to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a transformation for me.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, I don't change overnight.
Mm-hmm.
As an individual.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken me years
mm-hmm.
to evolve and slowly transform and continue to slowly transform and soften and, you know, be more in tune with love. And I am a microcosm of the collective. So when we have this expectation that the collective is just going to transform overnight, it is, I think, naive, and more importantly, it's heartbreaking. And I think that's why it's a critique I have of the left, is I think that there's an unwillingness to sit with the heartbreak, that it doesn't happen overnight.
Or what if the thing that happens overnight is that we care more for each other?
Right, which doesn't have the same...
It's not, because I actually was sitting with this to someone who, like, I think we have similar backgrounds in that way, where I just been so deep in social justice work for a while, and then took some time to ask like the fundamental questions of like, what is this all about really? Because I think that's where a lot of us have sat in the last handful of years, just feeling like, yeah, where do we go from here? Because we kind of have to know where we're aiming to build or transform or revolutionize. And the definition of revolution, or the etymology of it, is literally going around in a circle. So we keep coming back to the same place.
To the same place.
And that's why we do see with so many radical visions of community, when there are revolutions, the same power dynamics get set up in that new ideal, right? So in theory, you know, like more radical forms of society where everyone has equal wealth or power distribution doesn't happen, because it doesn't take the care to attend to all the details of how that actually works.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I've been feeling into this lately, just like you said, going into my own work in my body, into my own, I'm half white, and into my own privilege, or into my own sense of how this lives in me, the systems live in me, is feeling, and working in political work for a while and seeing how it worked through bodies,
Mm-hmm.
is that we can externally do whatever we want to do, overthrow a government, like change the regime. Like, these are the things that you see with like revolutions. But if the bodies are still the same, if there's still trauma in the bodies, there's the same shame of whiteness, if there's the same unwillingness to look at and be present to what's in the way of caring for each other and feeling empathy and really like connecting in a new way, then it doesn't matter what system we have that we build externally. It'll still be carried out by the same bodies.
Right. The same traumatized, deregulated nervous system bodies.
Mm-hmm.
What feels like the tension for me, and an area that I just want to say, I don't know,
Yeah.
is how do we square this with what you said a few minutes ago around sometimes if I'm being violated, I'm going to violate.
Yeah.
And I do not know. And this question comes up around like, yeah, like when, in a lot of contexts, around here in the United States, in Gaza, around the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
When and how is it okay or not okay? If you come punch me, I might punch you back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's an instinct, a protective instinct.
Yeah.
To that.
And yet there's this sort of, in my intellectual mind, there's that story that says, the head monk is, I feel like we talked about this one too. He's like in the temple, and the other emperor is coming with his army, and everyone flees, and all the other monks go up to the mountain, but he stays. And the maybe help me out. The head of the general comes and says, "Why are you still here?" And he's sitting there meditating in the temple. Everyone's fled. He says, "Don't you know that I could put a sword through your heart without flinching?" And the monk says, "Don't you know that you could put a sword through my heart without flinching? And I wouldn't flinch?" I didn't do the best job telling that story.
Yeah.
But it's like...
What point is it that you find the peace inside you that is unaffected by the external, is kind of the question that you're posing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is something I've been holding, and I feel, again, it's a both and.
Mm-hmm.
And that I do feel historically, especially in Buddhism and these types of like philosophies, there is a time and a place and a culture where sitting and meditating is the thing to do. Or if it's the right thing for you, that's the right thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've been feeling as an American in 2025 is that, and having meditated a lot, is my body is telling me that's not the thing to do right now in our politics and everything we need to do to mobilize. And that maybe sometimes there's wisdom in the stories and the practices, and at the same time there's wisdom in our body that tells us what's needed in the moment. Like maybe the punch to the punch can be wisdom sometimes, and we don't really know till like later down the line. That's like another Buddhist story where I could try to butcher it too, but I think it's something to like where this random horse comes up to this old farmer's house, and the whole village celebrates and it's like, wow, like you just had a horse like come up to your house, you get to have the free horse it's like a gift from God, amazing. And he's like, well, we'll see. The next day, his son goes on a ride on the horse, and he falls off the horse and breaks his leg. And the whole town's like, oh my God, that's terrible. Like, I can't believe that happened to you. And the old man's like, well, we'll see. And then the next day, speaking of, the next day the military comes
Oof.
and tries to recruit his son for the war. But they can't
because his
because
leg
he
is
broke his
broken.
leg.
Mm.
And the whole town's like, wow, what a blessing and a miracle. That's incredible. And the old man's like, we'll see. You know, and so like it keeps going. I think maybe there's a couple more steps, but
Yeah.
just the following that, we never really know when something's right or wrong.
Right.
Just in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a broader, a bigger context to things.
Yeah.
And there's never a time when we know for sure, oh, this is what needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Although we can get that sense maybe over
Right.
time. Like that so much happens like in our lives, right? We're like 10 years later, you're like, oh, now I know why I did that thing. And that why it helped me. Or growing through that difficult moment in my life was actually something I needed, but it wouldn't be compassionate or real to say it was what I needed in the moment.
Right.
So maybe sometimes, yeah, also just saying we don't really know what's helpful.
Yeah. And you kind of hinted at this too, that sometimes what's helpful from one person isn't what the other person needs or needs to do. Like and this has been a lesson for me. It's okay for us to have different roles. I think for a long time I was looking for the right thing to do, the right way to be, the right thing to say. And like my unfolding is my unfolding. And each of us have our own, calling and unfolding and dharma. So trusting that has been, an opportunity, especially in these times.
Yeah. Well, and just to that point of should we be the sitting monk or not, what's helpful, I found that you can find peace internally and act externally at the same time.
Yes. And that peace can be action.
Yeah, and even in a time of a lot of action or need for action, it might be necessary to find that internal rest or peace, right? Just to relax internally so there isn't as much stress about all that there is to do. And sometimes, like in those moments in life when you just go into a mode of like, I just know this needs to get done. There's a natural way that we kind of kick into like a flow internally.
Right.
That's what I'm feeling, especially around like when we talk about whiteness and everything that's happening now with the protests and uncovering what it is in the body that could contribute to this time is coming into more of a sense of an internal rest, coming out of anxiety, being present to anxiety so that it can be put into a sense of ease, so that there's more of a sense of presence to the moment, whether more anxiety comes up or it's more action needs to be taken. But yeah, just like being able to be with the body's intelligence so that we're not arrested by our own emotional state.
Yeah. The fear for me, the fear and the grief and the shame, it can be so paralyzing and kind of tantalizing. There's something very familiar about those emotional states. And I think it's, for me, sometimes easier to be arrested by the horror
Right.
than to sit in the discomfort of not knowing, of and also of hope, because hope feels like kind of related to not knowing, or even like choosing to know love, peace, possibility when all the evidence around me is saying you're full of shit. But to do that requires that calmed nervous system, so that when my body is experiencing those challenging emotions, I can sort of hopefully have a thread to hold on to of of ease and of clarity.
Yeah. I found for myself, like, that's almost the only way I've been able to move through big stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is to find a place in me that loves me unconditionally.
Ooh.
And it's not me. Like, it's not like little Sarah me.
Yeah.
There's like a deeper strength. And I've been feeling and saying this, like, it's not anything fancy. It's not something like people don't know already. We all know it and we all experience it throughout our lives, but maybe we're not just noting it
Mm-hmm.
or like recognizing those moments. It's not like reserved for people who meditate or spiritual people. Like, we're all spiritual people. We're all, of the same, cloth. And I feel sometimes when we use spiritual language, we get it wrong in terms of like others, this experience of touching into that part of us
Mm-hmm.
that could never be harmed.
Mm. And that's what the monk is. That's what the monk knows.
Yeah, that's what the monk knows.
He's gonna put the sword through him, and the monk
He's like,
knows, put the sword through me.
At some level, there's a part of me that will not be harmed by that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's new, or not new, but what's happening today that to reckon with is there's also a part of me that will be hurt. Like,
Totally.
my body is worth something too.
Totally.
And I'm not here to just give up my body.
That's right.
People in Palestine are not here to just give up their bodies.
That's right.
Like, people in LA are not just here to give up their bodies. Like, undocumented folks across the country. People across the world whose bodies are being devalued and dehumanized are not here to just be Buddhists, like monks that are sitting and being like, take my life. Because our human lives matter too. And that's where I find the both and today is a different philosophy than the Buddhist philosophy often. And that's okay. We can hold both. Like, maybe it's like a monk and the messiest human being you've met.
Yeah.
And when we like marry them or like weave that together, I can value my life and I can value my peace. And maybe actually for me, I found like by touching into that deepest place, it has a very practical, like you're saying, a very practical use in our human life to help me move through big emotions. Because if I know there's a part of me that's always here, then the parts that seem to be huge waves, disruptive waves, the big shame that comes up when you hurt somebody or when you feel like you wish you weren't a part of a society that did this and all that stuff, that it can be moved through because there's something that can hold that. And sometimes that's like literally just being with each other, to have something bigger than you to hold that. But to have it internally too, for me, has been such a resource to say, like, if I'm going through anything really hard, can I just tap into that part of me that knows there's a part that's not this. that can feel the you could say it's peace, but it's more like the, I've been feeling, this unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
That no matter what we do or do not do, doesn't change our
Right.
fundamental core of our humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the formlessness behind all of the form. That is, that is at once unchangeable and also only change. But I loved what you said about sort of this, I don't know, action. The word action is really on my heart, listening to what you're saying. And it's like, I am in so much grief right now around everything happening. I feel so sad. And I think that there's a part of me, an egoic part of me, that a white part of me that wants to save the world. Thought I could, thought I would. And, I posted that thing the other day. I'm like, did you reference that post? Yeah. And I'm like crying.
Yeah,
and I had a whole process through that post because I was like, just going to post myself singing that song, but I was really in my feels and I started crying. It kind of became this thing. And I was like, is this me centering my white tears on the internet? Or is this me being really honest about how I'm feeling? And I ended up posting it, and I feel aligned with having posted it also because like my Instagram is not the center of the world. So even a piece of me that is saying, oh, you just want to center yourself, that is actually my ego masquerading as my higher self, and she can chill. Which we can come back to, because that's been a big one, sort of the faux humility. But it's just been a real practice in this moment of accepting that I can do a lot. Yeah. And also I can do what I can do, and I can offer what I have to offer, which is my body, which is my songs, which is my music. And I don't know, there's just a lot of grief there for me in the clarity of wanting to give what I have to give from a place of emptiness and humility, and feeling more confident and more aligned and more clear around what it is that I have. And there's joy and yay, clarity, yay, here's the action plan. Right at the same time is so much fucking grief. Yeah. Because I just thought that it was gonna be more, bigger, more visible. It's like what you said about the subtlety of care. It's like allowing the subtlety of how we can love to be enough. And already I hear the person in my mind going, you're complacent. You're complicit with this violence. And it's like, and that conversation is like such a but even with that conversation, it's so much more calm now than it was 5 years ago. Yeah. And I rejoice in that for me, because I'm able to give so much more. I do believe this, even though there's so much grief. I feel like I'm so much more useful to myself and to the collective when there's not the constant doubting of myself. I mean, I went through around 2020 a phase where I was like, white people shouldn't make art. How about that for reparations? Right. How about no white art for 100 years? And I really, really was like into this idea. But it was so, thank God for Audre Lorde and James Baldwin, who snapped me out of it. And we're like, girl, Black feminism is not saying white people should incarcerate themselves. But I had to move through that. I had to, as a white person, move through the process of thinking that was it to come out the other side of that. There was no skipping that stage. And I was so ready, even before 2020 and that summer and George Floyd. And in the years leading up to that, there were a few relationships that I had that really gave me an opportunity to just like really negotiate and understand and interrogate my whiteness. And I was so ready to be the bad white person in so many contexts. It was a role that was familiar and safe. I said safe.
Yeah.
Again, because it's like, oh, I'm bad now. And I can make sense of that. And it's like,
it's a role I can play.
It's a role I can play, and it's clear and it's defined.
Yeah.
And, there's, it's like identity politics did have done such a number on me, where it's like I had to go through this process to actually say, okay, yes, I can cause harm in the positionality that I have, and I have. And also, it's not just as simple as that. Like, it's not, I really went through this phase where I was like, oh, there's no way that like a Black person could ever cause me harm.
Yeah.
Which is so dehumanizing to everybody.
Right, to everybody.
To everybody.
Yeah, and what's so interesting underneath that, right, is shame. This huge shame for existing, like not giving permission to exist.
To exist.
To express, but even to exist. And like you're saying, it's like not actually helpful to liberation for anybody.
It's just a reframing of carceral white supremacist culture where
it's almost reinforcing.
Absolutely.
But in a way that it like arrests then the white body from actually being of support and connection and community.
Yes, and available to actually do care work. And show up.
Which has been so interesting for me too, because I feel like I've moved through seeing this in movement spaces too, right? Where like there was much more of a black and white, like literally, but also just being a mixed race person, navigating both people of color spaces and then white spaces, and feeling the way which people related to their own sense of self and body and the work, and feeling like they weren't congruent, right? That like the way that white folks were like basically like just saying like how bad they were didn't feel like liberating work. And
it's so boring.
Well,
it's so
and I
boring.
think it's
so white.
You're saying it's part of the process that's happened, but it's interesting to see now there's this sense of like an emergent, like, oh, you know what would be really helpful? Like what we were talking about earlier is like the root of racism and all these systems, patriarchy, and all these ways that we make hierarchies with each other's bodies is the shame in our own body. So to pile on more shame on the shame just perpetuates the same systems.
Right.
So it's just not practical.
Right.
But it makes sense that it would be a way to try to get out of it, because you're like, well, I'm recognizing that something I'm doing is bad.
Right.
But equating it to I am bad actually doesn't move the needle on anything. So like we were talking about being accountable but not being bad.
Right.
At your core.
Right.
Being able to, for me, so much of it is reweaving my humanity and our humanity back together.
This is a song that gets a little bit of a prayer. I'll offer. There will come a time There will come a time where we will be the ancestors of peace. Oh, there will come a time. There will come a day. There will come a day where we will see every being can be free. Oh, there will come a day. It may not look like we thought it would. No, it may not go to plan. There will be battles lost and tears will fall. But in the end, we'll stand singing. There will come a time. There will come a time where we will see every being can be free. Oh, there will come a time. Oh, there will come a time. There will come a time where we will be the ancestors of peace. Oh, there will come a time.
Thank you.
There will.
I know.
I think it's such a gift just to get to talk with you. I like, the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
I got a little bit.